people that have booked and can't actually make today. Do then just you can always block your videos or hide their faces. So no, it is recording. Okay.
Yeah, very good.
Is he?
Yeah, very
Good. So let me pop that so you can actually see the top of my head because I've got a flat head. So good to see everybody. Welcome along to our Team Mastery workshop. I think everyone's been to. David, this is your first one. Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that haven't been before, there's 6 mastery workshops in the series to cover really the foundations of growing a business, from time management, self-mastery to finance, marketing, sales, customer. And this is the team mastery. So for those of us that have teams or looking to build teams, and a lot of this can apply to ourselves as well. So it's really key to actually understand what's going on with our team. So what I want to do to start with is,
Okay.
You okay? Hello? I'm going to put you on to mute, man, because you've got a bit of background.
Hi, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Oh, why can't I mute you? Oh, there we go. Good. So if you just write down what is your biggest sort of challenge, frustration around team, and what's one thing you'd really like to get out of your time here today. So just make a quick note of that. For those guys that are online, if you could put that in the chat box. If you look down on the sort of the toolbar at the bottom left-hand side, it says chat. If you can just put something in there, then we can. There we go. Yeah, so just pop it in the chat box, and then I can read. Hopefully, I can read it. Make my box a bit bigger so I can read it. And then say if I'm not too sure, we'll unmute you, and then you can sort of participate sort of online as well. Okay. So just one key thing you like to get out of today. So
Team discipline.
Team discipline. Okay. So how do we keep the discipline within does that mean disciplining team, or getting the team to be disciplined?
Getting the team to be disciplined.
Okay. Damn. I thought it was about discipline.
No.
I like doing that.
Not the stuff.
Not the sting. Good, Chris.
Getting the team to align with common goals.
Alignment with common goals. Okay. Yep. Good.
So we actually have quite a good team, I think, at the moment, but we can always be better. So it's just getting them to just improve.
Okay.
Be the best they can.
Yep.
Really.
Any particular area for improvement? What's one thing you think lets them down at the moment?
Yeah, there's one thing that lets them down. It's always nice if they take more responsibility.
Okay.
But they already are taking responsibility for things.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice, but yeah, no, I think that's fine.
Okay. So a bit of taking extra responsibility. Good, Helena.
My biggest frustration is the changing team dynamic, as in just when you think we've got a perfect team,
Someone leaves or someone comes in.
Bringing someone new, and you feel like you can back a few spaces.
Yeah. So having to rebuild the team all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good, David.
Mine almost is on for that one. It's selecting the most suitable people for the particular work that they need to do.
Okay.
Which is part of your problem. They don't want to overcome before it even starts.
So selecting, so that's not sort of the recruitment of
when
the
it's the
right people.
recruitment, yeah. And I do realise we're in such funny times at the moment, but that would be the biggest obstacle, I think, is knowing how to select and know what they want them to do, how to select them, and that sort of thing.
Okay, good. So have we got Lisa? So Lisa's a franchisor, so have to manage a lot of franchisees, but not employees, but keen to learn skills. To be honest, no difference. Okay, really in what we do, no difference between a franchisee and an employee. There's just a different legal status. You know, at the end of the day, we're managing people, you know, and people are people. So no matter where they come from. So yeah, that's fine. So how best to motivate the team? So motivation and improve overall output and morals. Oh, morale. We're trying to improve morals.
Discipline again.
Don't employ people with bad morals. Don't want to do that. Good. So anything from you, Amanda? So big difference. Yeah, there can be a big difference in their attitude. Okay. So, but I would say, yeah, what we're going to cover is going to cover both of those. So if there's anything specific, Lisa, around franchisees that you want to sort of pick up on as we go through, again, just type it into the box, or just unmute yourself and contribute on that side of things. So cool. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're going to cover most of those. We'll check in at the end and make sure I have. But obviously, if there's anything specific as we go through that is relevant to what you're doing, then just shout, and I'll cover that as well. So, okay, so I start every single workshop with this formula because to me it's the most important. You know, it is relevant to absolutely everything that we cover, and it's always a good refresher when we start looking at this that we take these three things into account. So our B, our beliefs, you know, what we think, our attitude, our do, our actions, our plans, and the have, which is our dreams and goals. Okay, so if we want to have a great team, yeah, what's the first thing we need to have?
A lot of patience.
Grab some
No, sorry
patience,
about that.
yeah. No, when that does work on the B, you know,
You've got to have a good goal for the team, what it looks like.
you got to know what a good team looks like. Okay, so if you can't visualize it, you can't create it. Now, this is the challenge I find with most businesses in their startup phase, is because perhaps you've never built a great team and you've never employed great people, that's difficult because you're learning. As you grow and you take more people on, you get more clear who you want. That's why sometimes I say the best way to build a great team, you know, is recruit and fire very quickly. You know, get through that process, because yeah, every time you recruit, you actually think about a better person, and you've got more and more clarity. Now, if you've run teams successfully, you know, and you've got that visualization, that really does help. What type of people do we want? What attitude, what skills do we actually want in the organization? It's amazing how much better you seem to get as you recruit and take on more people. You still make mistakes, yeah, but it's still important to be thinking about what you want to have. Okay, so really, that's where you need to sort of start. You know, life is a mirror. Yeah, your team generally is a perfect reflection of your ability to build a team right now. So if you've got a great team, then that's a good reflection that you're doing things good. If you've got a rubbish team, that's a bit of a reflection that you're not particularly, you know, you've got some improvement to be had. Then you're doing a fantastic job.
It's the MD, it's the problem, isn't it?
So you've got to start thinking about, okay, so what is it, the team that I actually want? Okay, because you will then have that chance to create it. Now, when I say with this side of things, sometimes it's difficult where if you're thinking about the team you've got right now, this is what I always look at this and say, right, what's the team that you want to build in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years? Because I think that for me is always easier to actually take myself away from where I am right now into a future state, and then look at that and say, right, let's visualize what I'm going to build. Okay, so I've got one client at the moment. They've got 15 people right now, and in 3 years' time, they're going to have another 12 people. Part of their plan, their big plan of their financial goals is they're going to add another 12 people. So their job is to start visualizing what that team of 27 looks like, yeah, not necessarily the team we've got right now, because sometimes we have to put up with what we've got. And sometimes the team that we've got now isn't the team that we're going to have in 12 months' time. Okay, so the more we can visualize what that team is going to be, the easier actually building it actually is. So you've got to start getting better at actually thinking ahead, thinking to future. What will these people be doing? How will they be behaving? What is the performance levels that we're actually expecting? Okay, so you've got to start looking at that vision of where you want to go. So what's the organization structure? So I'd always say draw out the organization chart, put the roles in, how big your business is going to be, where's your business going to go? Okay, because if you don't have that, it's very difficult then to actually get that, ensure that team is going to be right to go for it. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've got some idea of where your team is going to be and what you're actually going to do. Once we've got that, then we've got to look at our beliefs. Okay, so our beliefs. We were talking earlier, David, about beliefs and what we call sort of limiting beliefs. Yeah, what you believe to be true is true. Okay, now it might not be, it's true for you, it might not be true in the outside world, but your beliefs are how you base your world. And there are beliefs that help us, and there are beliefs that hold us back. But all our beliefs are internally generated. Okay, we create them. We create our own reality. So if you've got a belief, that is holding you back, that isn't working, then change it. So if you believe you can't get good people, and you don't have good people, then change the belief. Change the belief to one that is going to work for you.
I'm really, really good at changing beliefs.
Great.
Brilliant.
So, I mean, the key is don't keep switching from one to the other, to the other, to the other, but you should always be looking when you've got a belief that's holding, like at the moment, it's hard because of COVID-19. That's a belief. Now, if that's working for you and it makes you work harder, then great. That's a belief that lifts you up. Yeah. If a belief pulls you down, then you need to change that belief. Okay. So the first thing you should do really is question, what are your negative beliefs about team? Okay. So just want you to write down 5 negative beliefs that, if you don't have any negative beliefs now, I would say you're lying, because we've all got them, okay? But even if you haven't got that many, think about negative beliefs you might have had in the past. Okay, so just write down again on the chat box, just write them into the chat box, 5 negative beliefs about your team or about teams in general. And Lisa, for you, for the franchises, exactly the same thing. So just transfer team for franchisees. So negative beliefs. So what when you think about them, what suddenly comes to mind that is a negative belief about them? So what have we got? So Lisa, so unorganized, lazy, narrow-sighted, don't like being managed, checked up on, resistant to guidance and coaching. Good. That's nice. A nice selection there of negative beliefs about team. Yep. Good. David, want to add a few more to that?
I didn't get as far as 5. There are more than 5. IFAs could leave and take clients, which is
Okay,
what
good.
was-
So
what was,
they could leave, I could train them and they could leave, yeah.
they don't accept that they are part of the business, or they believe that they're unique in their own beauty,
Okay,
and they don't understand that without all the things I pay for,
Yep.
they can't do it. They can be disorganised, and they resist systems, which is really
so resistance to systems, resistance to change, yeah, awkward, yeah. Chris?
People are hard to manage. Teams can be time consuming. Resistance to change. Do not take responsibility.
Yeah.
And your ones.
Yeah. Good, please.
So I had no commitment. Not
Like a
team
commitment,
focused,
yeah.
not team focused. Don't take responsibility. Don't care.
Yeah.
That's it. And don't retain information. So repeated training.
Okay, don't care, don't take on information, yeah.
A lot of that kind of leads into self-development as well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for them to grow in a company or in themselves, then they have to take some responsibility to do their own learning and development, not just expect to do it in something else.
Yeah. So not willing to sort of develop themselves, yeah.
I'm a clinic manager.
Okay.
Just when we get somewhere, something holds us back.
Yeah.
And others might have responded to that.
So lack of commitment, yeah, things, we just get it right and things change, so why bother? Sort of, this can be that feeling sometimes. David?
I'm in kind of a twitch state here because I've got out of my head the desire to die, commit suicide. Nobody will ever buy what I make. No point in living, and no one ever listens to me. That's all gone now,
Okay.
and I'm in this kind of. It's really interesting listening. I've been working as a therapist for 30 years. I can solve everybody else's problems, but now I'm on to mine. And it's like I'm on a whole new life at the moment. I'm right slap bang in the middle of it. It's exciting, I've got to say. You've got no idea what's in your head. Well, I don't know what it was in mine. I don't know at this moment in time what limits I've got, but as soon as I spot it, I can just change it.
Right.
Well, half
Cool.
an hour and job
Yep.
done.
Yep.
So, but
I say the first thing is
I knew this was going to be good for me.
to be aware. So,
Yeah.
so what else have we got then?
Yeah.
So Sabrina, lack of attention to detail, lack of commitment, negative attitude, slower, yeah, than expected, not seeing the whole picture. Cool. Okay. So see, the key for that is not necessarily what you came up with, is just to be aware that we will all have these negative beliefs about other people. Okay. So yes, we should be aware of them. Some of them will help us because they make us cautious and check things out. But if you catch yourself with a negative belief that's actually holding you back, then those are the ones you need to challenge and face and change. Okay, because one of the key things to this is there's a belief that nobody out there is as good as you are. No one's going to do the job as well as I'm going to do. Okay, now if you took that as a negative belief, what's that going to stop you doing? Employing anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, if that's helping you and saying, right, well, that means I need to train them, I need to get good people and give them my knowledge and write the systems and processes, then that's fine. But if it's stopping you in your tracks, actually going out and looking, then you've got to challenge that one. Okay, so it's really a case of, around the beliefs is understanding that, and if you want to change the belief, often it's just a lack of education, it's a lack of knowledge. People are demotivated. Well, no, people aren't demotivated. We're all born motivated. Yeah, it's just that when they come to work for you, they're not motivated. So it's something you're doing. You're creating an environment where they can't motivate themselves. Okay, so we've got to take ownership that everybody that we employ, if they're not doing a good job, it's our fault. Okay, because we employed them, we give them the tools, the systems, the processes, put the environment in, and we manage them. And therefore, if they're not performing, we have to put our hand up and take responsibility. Okay, now if you start blaming and you go into that above the line, below the line, yeah, if you start going into blame, excuse, and denial, then you've lost. Because as an employer, you know, you've got the ultimate, you know, ability to just let somebody go. You don't have to employ people, or that particular person. You have to employ people, but you know, you don't have to employ that particular person. Okay, but you've got to take ownership of it and deal with it. So, the first thing I would say is, often the limiting belief comes from this management thing. Okay, is most of us that start businesses, you know, we're nice people. Okay, most people in business are nice people. Yeah, and often we've left jobs because our bosses and our managers weren't particularly good, and we didn't feel valued or felt worth or had the ability to express ourselves, have autonomy, and therefore we leave. Okay, either by redundancy or being sacked or just quitting. Okay, so sometimes our experiences of management are not good. So, as I said before, we've got this sort of mentality of two types of people. We've got people that live below the line, yeah, in blame, excuses, and denial. And we have people that live above the line who take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Now, as business owners, yeah, we are generally above the line people, because at some point we took that decision, that ownership, to say we want to make a success of our lives by actually, you know, starting our own businesses. Often if we are employed and we're managers, we've taken ownership because we've moved out from doing the job into a management position. Okay, so above the line people are the people that actually move forwards, that actually go somewhere. Below the line people that just live in blame, excuses, and denial don't amount to anything. They really struggle. Okay, because they're not taking that sort of step forward. So when we think about this in behavior, this is basically growing up. So we all start off down with childlike behavior. Okay, so has anybody got young children sort of under 4 years old? Amanda, Lisa, I can't see your pictures, so I can't assess how old you might be. But yeah, if you've had children, you've got children, they were at one stage under 4. Yeah. So down at this level, children are, what another word for denial is blissfully unaware. Okay, they're not responsible for anything. They don't take ownership of their own life. They are fully dependent on you as parents. Okay, now in the first couple of years as parents, that's quite a nice state, isn't it? Yeah, having a 2-year-old child is quite nice. Certainly the first one, I think. I don't know. I've never had children, so I can't really comment.
You still give it if you want.
But friends' children were quite nice because you could play with them and then give them back afterwards. But imagine 30 years of dealing with 2-year-old children. Do you think it would be as exciting after 30 years dealing with 2-year-old children as it is?
The person would have never grown up themselves.
So, I mean, those obviously teachers probably do that.
Teachers
Okay.
don't grow up.
But yeah, dealing with this all the time is tough. Okay. So as a child grows, you know, it goes up into sort of 3-4 years old, and it starts to learn how to make excuses. Okay. Where does it tend to learn the how to make excuses? From the parents. Yeah. Was that blame? Okay. So it learns how to make excuses. Then it goes to school or has a sibling, and then it learns a really good one, which is the blame. Now I can actually blame somebody else. It wasn't me, it was them. Yeah. Daddy said I could do this. Mummy said I could do this. Okay, so we learn this blame game, this ability to blame others. So once we get to sort of teenage years, there's a transformation that happens mentally and physically with children. Okay, what's that called?
Puberty.
Puberty. Okay, so it's basically the process, the mental process of moving from a below the line person, somebody who doesn't take ownership, yeah, into somebody that has the sort of starts the adult behaviour. Now, is that transition a nice, calm environment?
Usually not.
Okay, it can be quite stressful because on one hand, a child is actually still working to blame, excuse and denial, but it's starting to take responsibility, but it's not quite worked it out in its head in the moment which one it should do. So as parents, we help them through that process. Okay, sometimes we've got to be tough, sometimes we've got to be supportive, and sometimes we get it wrong. You know, it's not an easy place to actually be when you're dealing with teenagers. Then, as we grow, we start taking responsibility. Now, when do you think accountability comes in? Full accountability for a growing teenager?
Big shock to the system.
When they leave home.
When they leave home to go
To university.
or college. Because if you think about the difference between school and college, yeah, if you didn't do your homework at school, what would happen?
Everybody wouldn't get to you.
You get told off. The teacher holds you accountable. So you've got third-party accountability. When you're at college or university and you don't do your homework, what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. They really don't care. Do it or don't do it. We've got paid. We've got our money. Okay.
It's slightly on. I was having a discussion with my daughter at the weekend. My grandson's 9, and he was clearly still a child.
Yeah.
But when I was 9, I'd been at boarding school for a year, and if my clothes weren't there and my bed wasn't made and I wasn't where I should be,
yeah,
tough. It was my fault.
Yeah.
And I think that having to do that so early made a hell of a difference in my life.
Yeah, and they look at, you know, you look at children that have, you know, gone into sport or into. I said something wrong to God or something. So I don't know if you heard that. There's a big clap of thunder from. So hopefully the power is not all going to go on. So when you know, children go to scouts and, you know, Cubs and, you know, and things like that create the discipline, it actually helps them get this earlier. You know, they get into that mindset of self-accountability rather than third-party accountability. And then when does a child actually take full ownership for their life?
My youngest hasn't yet, and he's 32.
It's almost never in a sense. But the older we get, the more...
For most people, it's when they own something, which is when they move out. Yeah, they own their own house. Now you've got to look. Now when you've cut the ties completely with your parents, then you should have full ownership. So this process here is just growing up. You know, a mental journey of growing up. Now, unfortunately, you know, the people that we're going to take on haven't all necessarily gone to the top. Okay, they're not all in this full ownership. You know, they're somewhere still here. They still go into blame, excuses, denial. You know, sometimes that responsibility isn't always there. Okay, because if you can imagine, if everybody went right to the top, yeah, no one would want to work for you. Well, why would I want to work for you? I take full ownership. I'm going to start my own business. Okay, so we have to accept that our teams and the people that we're going to be working with may not all be at the top. Now, it would be fantastic if they were. Okay, but the reality is that isn't it. So these people down here, we have to manage. Okay, this is management. This is the nitty gritty of what I would call tough management. The further down people are down here, the harder it is to manage them. You imagine 22-year-olds. How much effort it would take to actually manage those. So even if you go to nursery schools, Yeah, the younger the group, the ratio of sort of teacher or carer to child is higher than they get older, because they're harder to manage, because you have to look at them all the time. You have to make, basically you have to wipe their bums. Okay, so if you've got a team of people down here, you have to accept you're going to have to wipe their bums. Okay, now in some cases, you may decide that actually down here would be cheaper labour, generally speaking. Okay, so you might have to go through that process. But it is tough. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of effort to do this. Ideally, we want these people. Okay, if they take ownership of their own life, if they show real adult behaviour, and they're perfect on that all the time, then all we need to do is lead them. This is where we're going to go. This is what I'd like to do. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Off you go. You have to check in with them. You don't have to follow them up. You don't have to, do anything. They'll just get on and they'll do it. Now, if you looked at your team, the normal distribution probably applies, and you'll have 1 or 2% up here, 1 or 2% down here, and the majority is somewhere in the middle. And this is what I believe people get wrong. Is as business owners and as managers, we expect everybody to be up here, so we try and lead them. Or they're not particularly competent, and therefore we micromanage them. And we switch between these. I lead you, you mess it up, I get back involved, I manage you. You don't like being managed, so I'll try and lead you, but you don't do it. So I have to. So I'm constantly flitting between these two. Okay, and this is where I think it goes wrong with management. What we have to focus on is actually this gap in the middle. And my belief is this is coaching. Okay, this is what we do with our children. We are their coaches. We are there to help them to be above the line, to take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. It doesn't come naturally, they're learning it, and therefore with our teams, we have to come at from a coaching perspective rather than a leadership and management perspective. Yes, fantastic. If I can build a team of people I can lead, that's a joyous place to be. Okay, but you're not going to get all of your people up there all of the time. What you don't want is to be down here, down in management, because that is hard work. That is, if you're going to do that, get somebody else to do that for you. You can focus on it full time. Okay, so we've got to be thinking in our minds with our teams, I am head coach. So if I was rather than leading and managing, if I'm head coach, how would I approach this? How do I structure my day with these people to actually get the best out of them? Okay, so same with a sports team. Take a football team. They're all adults. They should go out on that pitch and they should perform. Take ownership and perform 100%. How many teams do that? They've got a coach actually working with them all the time, every day, so that when they are on the pitch, they have the best chance of getting that performance. So that's our first thing, is that mindset for us is, am I leading them, am I managing them, or am I coaching them? And almost treat them as individuals, not as a team. Is each individual is going to want a different one of these. Sometimes they need to be managed, sometimes they need to be coached, sometimes you can just lead them. So you've really got to think about where they are within that. So then we sort of come into the motivation side of things. Okay, so we take that on board where they might be with this. And we have to understand that as human beings, we've got these 3 key parts to our brain. Now, some of you have seen this before in other areas, but to me, it's so relevant. And the more I read, the more I learn about psychology and stuff, it just all comes back to this. This is the fundamental. But we have this sort of baseline brain, which is our reptilian brain, which is our fight or flight, which basically controls our body. Okay, so our functions, our actions. We have our limbic system, which is our emotional brain, which deals with our sort of spirit, how we feel. And then we have our neocortex, which is our mind, our thinking brain. So if we want to be content and at one with ourselves, yeah, people talk about mind, body, and spirit. The three things have got to be in balance. Yeah, and this is purely just the fact that we've got these three levels of brain function. So if we want to motivate our team, yeah, we've got to make sure that they are, all of these are in balance. Okay, it's mind, body, and spirit. Chris, do you mind just seeing that something at the door? I think Jane's gone. So it's mind, body, and spirit. So if we look at that and say the essence of human life is, no, okay, that's it was just the phone. So this sort of mind, body, and spirit. So creating sort of motivated people, yeah, we've got to understand these three things happen. So in a business context, the body, the reptilian brain, deals with our performance. It's our do. So go back to be, do, have, because this still applies. This is the do part of things. So if I'm performing, yeah, am I actually achieving something, doing something well, then I'm going to feel content. Yeah, that reptilian part of my brain is actually working really well, and therefore it feels fine. The spirit, the limbic system, the relationships. So this is my relationship with the people around me. You know, there's a spiritual thing there with him upstairs. You know, but it's, yeah, do I feel loved? Yeah, and am I loving other people? So do I love working here? Is this a great place to be? Am I getting on with all my colleagues? Am I getting on with my boss? Okay, if we really tap into this relationship, then again, we're going to have a content and motivated person. And the final one is our neocortex, which is our thinking brain, which is our learning brain, which means, am I actually learning some new stuff? Am I better today than I was yesterday? So if I'm constantly learning and improving, if I'm constantly performing at the highest of my ability, yeah, and everyone around me I'm getting on with, yeah, then I'm going to be a very, very motivated person. If any one of those is missing, then my demotivation is going to go, or I'm going to be demotivated. If any two are missing, I'm going to be pretty well demotivated. And if I've got three, then basically I quit probably a year ago, but you're still paying me. Okay, so imagine somebody that isn't performing, they're just plodding along. They're doing exactly the same job now as they were 3 years ago. Yeah, and everybody in the whole organisation thinks they're an idiot. How happy is that person going to be?
Not very.
Not very.
Unless it's
Okay. Now sometimes that's us. Yeah. When we're managing, we're running a business, we don't feel we're performing particularly well. I'm doing the same bloody thing that I was 3 years ago, and you know, I don't actually particularly like anybody in my organisation.
One amazing what I'm listening to, I had a, I'm told I had an administrator.
Just speak up a bit so these guys can hear.
I had an administrator who was and still would be the best administrator I've ever had, bar none. But she was such a disruptive influence in the business and was causing so much discontent, I actually didn't really go to the office. So in the end, Devin's help, I lost him. And within a week, the whole thing changed. We weren't as efficient at that point, but by God, we got more stuff done because everybody was happy. So that's the spirit relationship and the mind growth.
Now we're all slightly different. So for me, I'm a performance and growth person. Relationships for me are less important than the other two. I'm not a friendly person. Okay, but for some people, this is far more important than these two. Okay, so everybody's slightly different. If we understand what the motivators are behind our team and ourselves, then we can actually decide what's going on here. Now, and if you've got a demotivated person, you know when somebody's demotivated. You can sense it, you can see it. So the question is, okay, so what's causing that? And it will be one of these three things, guaranteed. It'll be one of these three things that is causing it. And sometimes, it's either changing it so that they can then increase their motivation, or you've got to just accept it and let them go. Because you're actually creating their unhappiness by keeping them in the organisation and not allowing them to leave. So if we're looking to actually improve these, then for performance, people need to understand what the KPIs are, what the goals and targets are, and they like a bit of competition. That's why we play sport. People say, oh, we don't want to be competitive. Well, of course we want to be competitive. We are born to be competitive. It's what so annoys me about schools that take competition out of schools. Why would you do that? You're doing away with a basic human need to be competitive. You need something to get the adrenaline going, something to actually drive somebody forward. Because the other thing is the world is competitive, so we're not teaching our kids to be competitive. We're losing out on a key life skill. So that's why performance targets are actually important, not only for us to manage people, but actually for them. They need to understand what the score is so they can play the game better. And they need the autonomy to actually do that for themselves, take ownership of it. These are your numbers. I play, so my game I love at the moment is golf. Okay, I play golf, I practice, I'm going to practice hopefully tonight, I'm playing tomorrow, I'll play at the weekend, I'll play competitively. I don't need anybody holding me accountable and saying, have you done your practice yet? Are you keeping your score? Whenever I play, I keep the score. Have I improved? What it is. I don't need somebody checking up on me. Okay, so if you want people to self-manage themselves, you've got to give them the scoring system and the ability to play the game well. Okay, if you don't do that, then A, you're going to have to manage it, and B, you're not going to get the best out of it. Relationships, fun, social enjoyment. I've just visited a couple of clients today, and the buzz in those companies are just brilliant. Somebody did a Starbucks run and bought Starbucks coffees for everybody. They're doing things socially together. I look back in my career, and the best jobs I ever had were the ones where the team went off and did things on their own. We'd go down the pub, we'd go bowling, we would organise it ourselves. It wasn't the case of the company organising things and saying, you're going to come to the Christmas party and do things like that. They organised them themselves. So create the environment where this stuff is happening, almost automatically. If it's forced, right, everyone's going to come out and you're all going to have fun. It's never going to work, is it? So you've got to create the environment where this stuff actually happens. And then the final one, you guys got to see that, but it's education, new skills, training, and self-mastery. Okay, we all want to be the masters. It's education, new skills, training, self-mastery. If I click this up, I tend to lose it all. Okay. Education, new skills, training. So we've got to allow our people to actually grow and improve. Okay, so we've got to build this into our organisations. How do we actually achieve this? So if you think about your organisations and your teams at the moment, and if they're not performing as well as you want them to do, or their motivation you don't feel is as high, and Lisa, for you, for your franchisees, this is really, really important, then come back to one of these. Look at these and think, right, where are we strong and where are we weak? One of the hardest things with franchisees is the relationship swap. Okay, because they're generally, spread out across the country, and it's hard for them. They're generally on their own. They're sort of, they're not interacting with other people. So the best franchisees have these, times where you come together. So for us, we have a global conference, which is, unfortunately at the moment, it's all having to be on Zoom, which for me loses all of this. It's just not the same. It's educational. We get the education, but it's not building a relationship side of things. Okay, but needs must. There's only so much you can do where you have got these restrictions. So think about which area, which one of these needs to be worked on. Build that into the 90-day plan, and then put some things. And sometimes put it up. Show the team this stuff. Talk about it. Be open. We're not. No one says in business you have to come up with all the answers. What you've got to come up with is better questions. So why have we not got this buzz? Why have we lost the buzz in this company? Right, here's 3 things that it could be. Which one do you think it is? And to be honest, even if they get it wrong, it doesn't matter, because they'll be working as a team towards some performance, and they'll be learning some stuff. Okay, so you'll create this just by thinking about it. Okay, so in order to improve it, then think about, do we need some awards, some competitions, league tables, bonuses? Think about what we can actually bring in to enhance the performance of the business. Now, for some of you, where you've got sales departments, it's generally quite easy. Sales is a nice, easy one. Yeah. How many sales did we do? What was our conversion rate? But when you're looking at the administration team, well, how do you bring awards, competition, KPIs into an admin team? Okay. That's more difficult. It takes a bit more time, a bit more thought process to go into that. But you can find ways to actually achieve it. So one of the games could be, right, let's get the accounts out by the 5th of the month. Okay. Let's achieve some goals. Let's get the wages done. Certain deadlines put in place, personal best, those sorts of things. How many invoices have we processed this week? If you can gamify, part of the business, then you've got a real chance of making it more motivational and easier to manage. Relationships, fun days out, cakes, celebrations, birthdays. Okay, so just think about what could actually bring the team together in a better way, be more fun, more enjoyable. And then growth, training, promotions, travel, job swaps. Okay, get people doing different jobs. Mix it up a little bit. Give it sort of a fresh approach. Okay, really think about ways you can just add a bit of extra dynamic into the organisation. Any questions on that? Does that make sense, guys? If you want to unmute yourself and chip in or put something in the comments.
You go first.
One of the problems that the majority of people have, they don't listen.
That's an interesting belief.
Now, if you ask a person that's not doing the job properly, what goes through your mind when you're doing or not doing, and then just shut up and listen. And I've really known that there's 2 types of people, which you know this anyway, toward pleasure or away from pain. You need to know that first and foremost. Because if they're away from people, you've got to give them all the things that's going to go wrong if you don't do it. But how many of you actually know that or remember it? It's so basic, really.
I wouldn't disagree. We're all towards and away from people. Reptilian brain is away from. Yeah. Limbic system is towards. So we've all inherently, so that changes. You know, I'm away from in certain things and I'm towards in other things. So we can be both of those. The key, I think, to go back to that first question of listening, it's not listening, it's engaging. People don't listen because they're not engaged. They're not present. They're not, you know, they're not their mind is over here, and you're talking, and they're not actually, you know, they're hearing but not listening because they're not engaged. So the key to that is, how do we get them engaged in what they're doing? Do they understand the big picture? Do they understand the game they're playing? How many of us actually sit down and say, look, the game that we're playing, yeah, is to achieve this? No, we take them on to do a job. Well, you just do that job. If you do it well, then you keep your job. How motivating is that? Yeah, you get the behavior you focus on. Okay, so they're behaving in a way that they think is right in the environment you've created. So if they're not showing the right behavior, then you have to take ownership and look at that and say, right, how do I change that behavior? Now, sometimes you go through all the process and you do all of that and they still don't behave, then get rid of them. Because look, I can only go so far, yeah, and if it goes beyond that, then we need to change this. Okay, and I'm not going to change because it's my business and I'm the manager and I'm running the show. So it's down to you to change it. Okay, but if they don't want to change, it's fine. I don't have to, but yeah, I don't want you to be unhappy working here, and I don't want to be unhappy with you working here. So there's only one solution to this. What was your
question I had was around the complicated, I see it's complicated, when someone sees themselves as above the line.
Yep.
Somebody else sees that activity or person as below the line. And so it's almost like living in two different perceptions.
Mhm.
And that gets more complex because at some point, who's the person who says you're above the line? You because you're the boss, or you because you know it's happening? Or, you know, so, and when you've got like the dance going on between, you know, feeling like somebody might be making excuses, but that person actually feels that they're not excuses, they're valid reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's those kind of things, you know, but they're not blaming, they're trying to pinpoint something that was wrong. You know, it's almost like, you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So how do you actually get to that point of?
I think if you go back to the above the line, below the line, you know, it's a great one to share with the team. You know, you put it up and you sort of say, well, is that above the line or below the line behaviour? And it's brilliant. You know when it's gelled with your team is when they throw it back at you. And they throw it back and say, well, that's below the line, isn't it? So I think one of the key things to this, and I do have a slide on it later, is often there's a fear of conflict. Okay, and we've got to get over this fear of conflict in our organisation. Conflict is fine. Difference of opinion is fine. Difference of opinion is healthy. So if I think it's this and you think it's that, the first thing we should celebrate is great. Yeah, we're looking at it from different perspectives, and I call this the beach ball effect. Right? Remember the beach ball effect? So the beach ball effect. If you guys can see my chart here. So if you can imagine a beach ball, okay? So what colours are going to be on my beach ball?
Red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue. Okay. So you're over here. Yeah. What colour's the beach ball? Red. Okay. They're over here. What colour's the beach ball?
Blue.
Blue. Who's right?
Both.
Both or none of us? Okay. So our first thing is if I'm saying to somebody, oh, I'm thinking somebody's below the line and they're thinking they're above the line, my first thing is to say, oh, that's interesting. So how let me kind of see it from your perspective. Explain to me how you believe that is to be above the line behaviour. I'm interested. Yeah. Now, what most of us do is say, that's below the line, you're wrong, I'm right. Okay, and as soon as you go into that, then to start with, then that's not a good place to be. That's basically short term. That's the quickest solution. Well, I can't be bothered to understand it from your perspective, therefore I'm right because I'm the boss. Yeah. Now, sometimes you might be right in that, and it's a quick fix. Are you watching the telly?
No.
So if I don't take time to actually understand, say, right, okay, so run through that behaviour again, because I'm missing how that is above the line behaviour. Okay, and then you've got to say, okay, that's great. I think I can understand that now. So let me just bring you now to my side. Let me explain to you how I believe that is below the line behaviour. Now, I'm not saying I'm right or you're right, but what we've now got to do is go, actually, it's irrelevant because that's past, that's history, it's done. The only thing that matters is actually how we're going to move forward. So now we both see it from different perspectives. Okay, so from that, what are we going to do? That's all I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the past. I'm not interested in what happened yesterday. All I'm interested in is what can we do now to have a better outcome in the future. And often, the big thing is the lack of focus on the goal. Because we've both forgotten what the goal is. You know, we've got tied up in the small bits of playing the game rather than actually the goal. So if you take a football thing, it's, well, you didn't pass to me and you didn't pass to me. And we're talking about passing, and I'm going, oh, whoa. What's the goal? What's the game we're playing? Football. What's the purpose of football? To win, to score goals. Okay, so how are we going to deal with this? Yeah, we get stuck in the detail of how we're playing the game rather than we miss the fact, hang on a minute, we're actually playing a game of football, and the concept is to actually score more goals than the opponents. Okay, so seek first to understand before being understood. One of Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. We've got to understand that they'll have a point of view, and that's good, and we shouldn't knock them down, because if we knock them down, then they just won't engage with us again. Okay? Good. So those are the sort of the fundamentals to me for motivation. Okay, so that's really about our belief systems, what I believe to be right, to be wrong, and how to change that attitude and that motivation. Now we come back into what I would call the do side of things. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we build a successful team? So the first thing, the first key to a winning team is we have to become strong leaders. Now, I've talked to you about the difference between leadership and management, okay, and coaching, and I would put all that into this. You know, better managers, better leaders, better coaches. Okay, so they are sort of that fundamental skill, is to actually be able to do that. And yes, okay, so I've forgotten. I'm going to run through them all, and then we're going to go each one individually. Our second is to have a common goal. Okay, so everybody must understand what the goal of the company is, what we're trying to achieve, where we're going to go, and they must understand their part, their goal within the goal. Okay, if they can't see how they actually influence what's going on, then we're going to miss out on a lot of things. Then we've got to put a plan together. We've got to identify the rules of the game. We've got to allow risk-taking and 100% involvement. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these in order. So leadership. For me, leadership, your job as a leader is to provide that vision of the future. Yeah, to really identify what the values are of the company and set out the purpose. Why are we here? What are we trying to achieve? Okay, this is your job as the leader of the company, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And this really stems from our sort of 3-year plans, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Okay, it's no good just leading and saying this is what we're going to do this year. You know, this year's budget is 10% more than last year. It's got to be a big, hairy, audacious goal, something that people can see that is beyond where we are now, but something that's worth actually going towards. Okay, so I know for a lot of you, we've been working on this and setting this, you know, and once you've got it, that provides that focus of where people are going to go. Okay, once we've got that, then our job as a leader is to actually let go of as much as we possibly can. Okay, leaders don't hang on to stuff. You know, they put people in place to actually do that work for them. Give them the autonomy to do it. Let them have fun doing the bits that you used to do. Okay, leadership should be a part-time role. It should be come in on a Monday, make sure everyone's got what they need to perform, and then bugger off. Come back on Friday and make sure they've done it. Okay, and if we're not doing that, then we're still in the business and we've still got work to do. You know, that's what we're working towards. We've got to make sure there's alignment, so everyone's clear, you know, within that of personal goals, which I'll come on to in the next one. And to me, if you're going to lead people, you've got to understand the psychometrics of the people you're leading. Okay, because as David said, everyone's slightly different. Okay, everyone's motivated in a different way. Everyone has a different behavioural profile. Yeah, nobody in your organisation is like you, thank goodness. Okay, they've all got slightly different ways. So if you just manage in one style and lead in one style, you're going to be ineffective for most people. And you've got to make sure that everyone has that self-awareness. You know, you hold people to account. You know, leadership isn't just the nice stuff. Leadership sometimes is being tough. You know, think about your kids. How many times have you sort of told your kids to behave? Yeah, to actually do things they don't want to do. Leadership in a business is no different. We've got to put that in. So for a lot of you, you know, we've done the DISC profiles. You know, if you haven't got into psychometrics, profiling, then you've got to do this stuff. Okay, I know, you know, Keith and Helena, you know, everyone in the organisation has at least 2 profiles done, looking at different things. 3 or 4 profiles done. So really understanding as much about the psychology of what's going on and the type of person you've got, because, you know, different styles. So here, we use DISC, which is nice and simple. You know, it's not overly complicated, but it's really, really powerful. So we've got outgoing people, task-focused people, reserved people, and our cautious, compliant, correct people. So if you think about the types of people that we've got here, you know, each one of those is going to need managing and leading a different way. If you micromanage a D and an I, they're not going to hang around very long. Yeah? If you don't touch base with an S regularly, they're going to feel unloved. Yeah? If you don't put systems and processes in for a C, then they're not going to cope. Okay, so everybody needs to understand it, and as a leader, we have to change our profile to suit the people we're managing. That's the real key to this. Okay, if we're just a high D leader and we expect to actually manage everyone from that style, yeah, we're not going to get very far. You know, 2/3 of our, you know, our organisation are probably going to think that we're domineering idiots. If we're a high S leader, you know, then, and we're not showing some form of dominance and direction, yeah, people are going to think we're insipid and, you know, a waste of space. If we're an I and we just lead with the big vision, people are going to think, well, there's no substance, there's no real detail. It's all big ideas and you know, what about the detail? If we're a high C, yeah, we'll have it all planned out, but yeah, we actually aren't going to be talking to anybody. So we're not going to know what's going on. So we've got to make sure that we can adapt our profile. So, you know, this is what they respond to. You know, C favourable environments is one which challenges can be overcome, fixing things. Now, the problem with a D in an organisation, if there's nothing to fix, guess what Ds do? Find something to fix. They keep fiddling, break it, change it. And a lot of people don't like change. So sometimes the high D's got to go off and do something different outside the organisation and just let it get on with it. The high I, you know, impressive, interesting, you know, inspirational, you know, favourite environment once they can influence others. Again, they like talking. So if you've got a high I leader and you just want to get on with things, you know, they're always at your bloody desk. Don't leave you alone. So I want to get on with it. You know, the job I've got to get on with. You know, there'll be meetings after meetings after meetings because a high I needs to be talking to people. S's, supportive, stable, shy. You know, keep steady as she goes. So if we're a high S leader, you know, and things change, are we going to change quicker? You know, are we going to see things coming? Or are we just going to sort of hit the iceberg? And C's, you know, they like order, you know, established roles, rules, guidelines. So you can see that an organisation needs us as a leader, you know, as the manager, to be all of those. You know, we need structure. We need to be stable. We need to be dynamic. We need to be inspiring. So this is one of the key things to leadership: is you've got to learn how to do this, how to actually sort of change your profile, change your behaviour to suit the situation that you're in. Or you build a team of people who can do this for you. Yeah, who's the I that's going to be that sort of, you know, motivational person? Who's going to look after the detail? Who's going to be the supporter? Who's going to be the driver? You don't have to do this all on your own, but you've got to have the ability to know when you should be and step up or get somebody else into it when you can. Okay, so the key things is to actually learn, you know, where you are and what you need to do. So this is the profile that we use. So it's a very detailed, I think you get about a 30-page report, which goes right through, you know, but for me, these graphs are good. This is one that we do for a team. So if you've got a big organisation, every one of these dots is a person. So we can start to see how the team forms. And we can start to see gaps. Okay, so here you can see that, you know, we've got a couple of D's, yeah, got a lot of I's and a lot of S's and C's. Okay, so we have potential conflict between this part of the organisation, because on this one, this was the sales team and this was the operations team. Yeah, so we're going to have conflict because these guys are going to look at things differently. Go back to the beach ball. These guys are going to think it's blue and these guys are going to think it's red. So we've got to manage that conflict. Okay, so it's a real key part to actually, you know, being a leader is understanding where our people are, where our strengths are with that, but where our weaknesses are going to be as well. Okay, and then we've got the individual profiles, and this helps communication. So if this person here is having trouble communicating with this person, because it's generally cross that causes the biggest problems, yeah, then we can help them deal with that. Yeah, again, we're there to coach them to deal with their own problems, coach them to actually say, you know, you need to confront this person, you need to work with this person. How are we going to do that? Because if we don't develop our team to actually do that, then guess who's going to have to do it? We are. We're going to get called back every time there's a conflict. We've got to come back in and fix it. Okay, that's going to slow us down, and it's not going to help the organisation to move forwards. So profiling is a key thing to actually, for me, for leadership, is to understand ourselves first, then to understand other people.
When you're doing a team, do you do them individually, then meld it into the team, or do you talk through?
do them all individually, and then the system we use does all of this. It just does it automatically.
Those are key words. Understand yourself first. Because if you don't know yourself, as I didn't, then what can you do? It's no wonder I had businesses all over the place and they all failed. But as you understand yourself and really know yourself, because you do that, although you don't realise it.
You do, and sometimes you hide from it. You know, sometimes you know what you're strong in, what you're weak in, and you'll avoid the bits you're weak in.
I'll tell you what's irritates the hell out of me. We had a huge business which we sold because we were exhausted.
Hmm.
If we'd actually been putting these techniques into place then, we wouldn't have been exhausted. And we wouldn't have sold business.
You're generally exhausted because managing, is exhausting.
Yeah.
Again, go back to 2-year-olds. If you just had to look after 2-year-olds all your life, you'd be exhausted.
And if you manage, we had 20 financial advisors, and they are like bloody kids. They really are. And you've got guys flogging motor cars. They're like kids, aren't they?
Look, we're all like kids. It's not.
I've never been a kid.
We would always revert down to that lowest behaviour if the environment allows us to do that.
That's the key, isn't it? If you actually allow them to retreat to childhood. Yeah.
Because childhood is quite nice, blissfully unaware, running around, in your nappy and care in your world. It's great. I do it every Sunday. So we've got to work on ourselves as leaders, okay? And to me, go back to our motivation. Our motivation is we need to be better, personal growth and performance. And relationships. I can have a relationship with my team, that should be good. Yeah. I can perform at a higher level. How do I record performance? Well, my performance is the performance I get out of my team. My personal growth is how am I going to be a better leader tomorrow as I was today. So we should be, we've got to be reading stuff, learning how to do this. When the beauty with leadership is, there are so many books written about it. That if you want to be a better leader, go and listen to great leaders. There's fewer good management books. Management books are far fewer because no one likes management. The book that everyone generally can remember is 1 Minute Manager.
There's an example. I bought 2 copies of Who Moved My Cheese for 2 of my clients. And I gave them and said, you've got to read it. It's going to take you 1 hour and a half, maybe 2. And I said to both of them a week later, have you read the book? I've looked at them, you've read it. No, but you're going to read it. Yeah, I'll get around to it. And they don't see the relevance of that stupid little thing somebody did my cheese will change your life. So.
But then it comes
story time.
It comes back. It comes back to the goal. What's their goal?
Yeah.
So if they can't see themselves here, and I need to read this stuff to get to there, then people will just stay as they are.
Too much of a mindset shift. Too much of a mindset shift in one. It takes time to.
It goes back to David's point. Move away from pain and move towards pleasure.
Yeah.
If they're not in pain and there's no pleasure, then why would I do anything? So somehow we've got to tap into one of those two. Either create the pain and say, well, if you don't read this, I'm going to sack you.
Slap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you read this, But it does, often it does show those people that do and want to learn and feed their mind, and those that don't. And obviously, as Clive Woodward says, you've got 2 types of people. You've got rocks and sponges. Yeah, he said, I only deal with sponges. People that just want to absorb knowledge. So you get a choice, But in your recruitment process, make sure you recruit for sponges. If they've got rock-like behaviour, don't take them on.
Sorry, going right back to when we started recruiting, one of the issues in my particular respect is there's so few people available, IFAs available, because the average age is 58 and they're not coming in. But if one walks in, they can actually breathe, you're halfway sold. And it's very, very difficult to step back and say, is this guy actually or does actually what I'm doing? Very good.
So anything, if you're in a highly skilled environment and you're taking on skilled people, that is always, you know, a battle that you're gonna have. Is skills over attitude, and you'll learn the hard way. It's always attitude.
Yeah.
You take somebody on with high skills with the wrong attitude, and it'll cost you in the long run. You'll fix a problem short term and make a better quick, but at some point you're going to have to deal with that problem. So leadership is number one. Common goals. So this one is about being clear what the company goal is, the budgets, the targets, you know, understanding their personal goals. So you go back to the reading. If they don't align the reading with their own personal goal, yeah, then all they're doing is reading because you told them to.
Yeah.
So you're just reinforcing childlike behaviour, being back at school. Okay, but they're not. So they need to tie in that in order for me to achieve my goals, actually reading this sort of book will be a benefit. If it doesn't relate to them personally, then you're not going to overcome that resistance. So finding out where they want to be, because the sad truth is most people have got no idea where they want to be. Okay, if I surveyed 100 people just randomly, I reckon less than 10% would be able to tell me exactly where they're going to be in 5 years' time, what they want to achieve. Okay, I've done talks to schools, you know, 15, 16-year-olds. Said, right, what do you want to achieve? I don't know, really.
Here's a job.
You know?
Here's a job.
It's very few people that have got that clear direction. Go back to be, do, have. Which one is the most important for success? The have. Athletes, you know, athletes are good, successful athletes because they want to win whatever they want to win. And therefore they be and do whatever they want to do. So we have to tie in not only to our own personal goals, but to our team members' personal goals as well. So we've just done that with recruitment of in one company, and we said to them, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Now, some people came up with, I want to be here in 5 years' time. You're well, we ain't going to be able to deliver that in this job. Yeah? But there was enough people that have got an alignment of their goal with where we want them to be, and therefore they're the good ones to take on. And sometimes they need a bit of help. So the first thing would be really, you know, sit down with them, align it, and then appraise them. Okay, then your 90-day goals, they should have a personal development plan to help them achieve their goals. And often it's as easy as, you know, do you want to earn more money? Do you want to live in a better house? Do you want to drive a better car? Okay, so if we can help you achieve that, yeah, how would you feel? Oh, great. Okay, well, first thing you need to do is read that book. Oh, okay then. So that's going to help me get a new house. Yep. Okay, it's got to tie in an alignment with their goals. So, and yeah, I'll come into it. So within that as well, then is you need those key performance indicators to actually track their progress. Okay, so we've got this thing of leading and lagging KPIs. Yeah, so leading is an activity based, so that's the one I control. So I can control the amount of activity I do. I can't always control the end result. So that's the lagging, that's the one that as a result of that. So you've got to have both. Obviously the lagging, the ultimate lagging is making profit, okay, but there's got to be some leading KPIs within there as well. And then we break that down into, you know, company, department, individual, okay. Everything should tie back to the ultimate goal. So I'm just going to go back to my flip chart. So if we look at this from a company organisation basis, okay. So at the top of an organisation, so I'm going to draw an organisation chart. So who's at the top?
The owner, yeah.
Stakeholders.
Stakeholders. Yeah. Shareholders. So shareholders at the top of the tree. So what are the shareholders interested in?
Profit return.
Money every month.
return on their
Capital invested.
investment. And how do they get the return on investment?
Dividends.
Dividends and growth. Value growth. Okay, so if you own a company, so if you've got stocks and shares, in ICI, let's say, as an investor, you want a dividend on a regular basis, and you want to see your share price go up. So as a shareholder, that's what you want to do. You probably also want a little bit of, what I would call sort of purpose, which is sort of social corporate responsibility. You don't just want people to make money and destroy the planet. I think we're moving more to a world where we want to invest in good causes as well. So so I want them to do good, but just doing good and not making me money isn't a decent investment. So as a shareholder, I want to achieve this, and then I appoint who to actually look after that.
Chairman. Chief Executive.
Chief Executive. So in English terms, it's the
Managing Director.
Managing Director. Okay, the chair basically sits here. Okay, the chairman's or chairwoman's job is to actually be the shareholders at the board meeting. So I'm here from a shareholder's point of view to make sure you, Mr. MD or Mrs. MD, are actually doing your job. Okay, so in order to achieve dividend and value, what does the MD have responsibility for? Profit. Okay, so company value and dividend is purely based on profit. Value is a multiplication, so that times a number equals value, and profit, I pay the dividend.
Profit and balance sheet.
Some
responsible MD, some responsibility for balance sheet. So.
The balance sheet, the balance sheet is a result of what's going on. It's just where the money's gone, where I'm storing the money. But the ultimate aim is to drive profit. Okay, so the KPI that an MD really is responsible for is the profit. Okay, so if you think about your profit and loss account, the number at the bottom, that's what the MD is responsible for. So in order to achieve profit, the MD then appoints their board of directors. Okay, so who have we got? Marketing director, sales director, finance director, operations, HR. Okay, so we've got these key heads of department that are all driving to achieve profit. So if we look at the KPIs for each of these, then the marketing director's #1 goal is to reduce leads. Yeah. #1 goal of the sales director, convert them. So these two together have responsibility for which number on the profit and loss account? Sales, turnover. Okay. Now, if sales are down, not achieving target, who does the marketing director blame? Sales director. You're not converting leads ungenerated. Who does the sales director blame? The marketing director. Okay. So whose job is it to manage the relationship between these two people?
The MD.
The MD. Okay, so there should be tension between these two, but not too much in which that relationship snaps, or too loose and nothing happens. Okay, so we've now got leading and lagging KPIs. Leading, leads, lagging, sales, conversion rate. Okay, so now these guys should know exactly what they're responsible for. So their teams, so you're going to break leads down into all the different types of lead generation strategies. The sales might be regional sales, different types, but the ultimate thing is conversion rate and the number of leads. Then you add in the operations director. Okay, so the operations director is now responsible for what?
Process.
Process to deliver what?
Deliver product, so.
Time on budget. Okay, so on time, on budget. So on the profit and loss account, which number do they have responsibility for?
Cost of sales.
Cost of sales. Okay, so these three people now have responsibility for what? Which number on the profit and loss account?
Gross profit.
Gross profit. So if GP is down, yeah, who does the operation blame?
SDND.
Sales, direct sales. Yeah, who does sales and marketing blame?
Oh,
Operations. So now I've got to manage a relationship between these three people. Okay, now if these three people are not working together, if I've got three different types of behavioural profile here, yeah, then have I got a lot of work to do? If I've aligned their goals to, guys, we've got to make profit here. Your job is to get leads, your job is to convert the leads, your job is to deliver, yeah, and they're working together. How much work am I doing? Next to nothing. Okay, I can spend my time on the bigger picture stuff. Then we add in the finance director. So the finance director is responsible for what?
Not running out of cash flow.
Cash flow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the, when you said back up to here? So what are the two documents in a set of accounts? Balance sheet. So basically they're responsible for the financial security of the business, which is the balance sheet, and
Pension protection.
yeah, which is part of that. What's after gross profit?
Net.
Between the two.
What's the bit between the two?
God.
Is there a line there?
Well,
Lots of
salaries and all the rest
All
of
the salaries.
Yeah. Overheads, that's the word.
Yeah.
Okay, so the FD can be responsible for the overheads to make sure that our costs are right for the production we're doing, yeah, and the balance sheet. So the FD is the only person really that understands the full picture as well as the MD. These guys don't really understand balance sheets, and don't really care about overheads because they just want to spend more money. Yeah, if you want a better job, spend more money. Spend more money. So the FD is there to actually make sure these guys, yeah, all do the job, because gross profit less overheads is profit, which is the responsibility of the MD. So you can see now that by getting the whole team together and understanding where we're going to go and what we're trying to achieve here and here, you have to. Because if you don't, then these guys are just going to play their own games, which may or may not align to your game. And then the one that we all miss, the HR director, what's their responsibility?
That's all employees, isn't it?
Employees, yeah. So what sort of employees?
All the people below that. All the people below the directors.
No, these people manage their teams. The HR doesn't manage the people. So performance is driven by these people. Go back to our motivation. What are three things for motivation? Relationships, growth, and performance. These people look after performance. So these people look after relationships and growth. So I've got to make sure these people are all being trained. We've got enough training in going on in the organisation, and we have happy people. So if our people are happy and motivated and performing, yeah, life's good.
We actually used to have a little number system that we did with our team. At the end of each week, they had tokens 1 to 5 or something, or 1 to 10, and they had to put a token in to say how they felt about that week. And we completely got rid of that because it was one with only 2 or 3. Yeah, if it wasn't a good answer, we just gave up.
We nearly shot ourselves.
Well, we nearly shot them and got rid of it. But then we decided we have to be a bit more horrible.
But there is that sort of thing. If the results are bad, that's good.
That's not how we do it all the time.
Because if the results are bad, what can you do? Improve it. You know, if performance isn't, if things aren't great and everyone's scoring you out of 10, you've got no idea how to improve.
It worked with that a lot better when you got rid of the system.
We were a lot happier.
Yeah, denial's always good. Go if you're going to do it. Don't forget blaming excuses. Just go straight into denial. So just ignore everything. So, okay, so you can see now that common goals. The common goal is we've got to achieve this. Therefore, we've got to achieve this. Therefore, each department or organisation has to achieve what it's got to do. Now, the problem we have in a smaller business, yeah, this is hard because of what?
And the MD is doing all of them.
Because you're doing everything.
So you're responsible for
So I'm responsible for it. I've got to hold myself accountable. Yeah, I've got my leading and my lagging cable. My head's going to explode. That's why we have to grow in a business, because ultimately I want the best, because I'm not the best marketer. I'm probably not the best salesperson. I'm pretty good at operations. I'm a bloody good finance director, but I don't enjoy it. Yeah, and I'm rubbish at this.
So you're saying every business owner's goal should be to get to the point where you have a business big enough that you can have that size team?
Yeah.
Well, then it's a business, isn't it?
Then it's a business.
Because it's not a business until you get to that place.
It's a job.
Isn't it?
And it's a shit job, because at least if I went to get a proper job, in my previous role, I only had to look after this one. I knew exactly what I had to do, and I was bloody good at it. As soon as you start a business, now I've got to do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and I'm this person. I wake up in the morning, yeah, no wonder I'm bloody well need therapy. What hat am I wearing today?
So you get to the place where we can sell one kitchen a month, just the two of us, and be very happy with that and make a very good living out of that. Or you can sell 4 kitchens a month and have a whole team of people that.
Yeah. And often I say, either be small and accept it,
Yeah.
that that's all it's ever going to be, or be as big as you can. The bit in the middle is the tough bit, because I'm not, I've got a size, but I haven't got talent in these roles. I haven't got the best people I could get in these roles, which is why I have to keep coming back in and doing, picking up the mess, picking up all the mistakes, because I just haven't got the time to train them. I haven't got the time to manage them and lead them properly or coach them properly, and therefore, I've got what I've got.
This is magic for me.
Good.
Because if you keep the big picture and you're able to see clearly what's there, what's happening, then go into the smaller picture. This is new for me, what you've done there, it's magic, it really is. Cool, but then I've got a new brain. New mind.
So that's the common goal, okay? Then you've got to put a plan together. Okay, so who does what by when? Now, for those that are working with us, we know that we work 90-day plans. This is my little format for that. Clarity around the goals, the key performance indicators, the strategies, the activities, who does what. So it's basically project managing, the growth of your business. So if I came to you and said, build me a house, you wouldn't just start laying bricks. You'd do a blueprint, you'd get a project manager in, you get a quantity surveyor in, you get an architect in, you'd get the team around you to build it. Okay? Get a good kitchen designer in. So you've got to look at this and say, right, we need this plan. Okay, so 90 days, 7 days targets, daily reviews. Okay, so this is where we then, I'll come back to it towards the end with the meetings, but the whole purpose of meetings with your team is to keep them accountable and check up where we are with the plan. If you don't have a written plan, you can't provide accountability. Okay, what I'd say, I'm not precious about the format. I've just, I've done a number of formats, and that sort of format for me works best. It's nice and visible, it's written down, and it's amazing. Even just writing it, I always say, do the plan not necessarily for the plan. It helps and provides accountability, but for the process you go through. Sitting down and thinking about it and writing it down reinforces it into your long-term memory.
It's not available.
You got it.
What?
You're right. You're right. You did it.
That was my, oh, that's, oh Christ, yes.
You didn't quite do it in that detail.
Sorry.
Made quite an impression on David. So
We were saying about age
I've had
that.
more bloody homework.
I'm always 2 or 3 meetings.
So David's 75 and the other David's 73, and so yeah, we're still really active and switched on. And unfortunately, you just let the side down.
Yeah. I got the wrong glasses.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
like,
it's like the two old boys in the Muppets that sit up in
Oh,
the theatre.
Yeah. Blame excuse and denial. Yeah, blame the glasses. I've got wrong glasses today.
no, actually, what I should have said was I'm doing that. And it's quite interesting. Use the same thing for each of the guys.
Yeah, when you get to this level, each one of these will have one of these, and the team underneath, each one of those team will have one of those. Okay, might not be as detailed as that, because this obviously covers the whole company.
I'm going to ask what's possibly a stupid question.
There's no stupid questions.
I'm motivated to do that and tell the truth. Historically, when I've done something similar with teams, they actually lie because it's seldom, for example, they put down targets and they think will make you happy. And I haven't got a hope in hell achieving it. So you say, look, you can't, that's not going to happen. You can't.
Who wrote the plan?
If I've asked them to say, what, I've said to the guy, okay, start on the other end, this is what you want, sure. How are you going to do it? And they come up with absolutely stupid numbers.
Yep.
And I know they're not going to work, and they know they're not going to work. And I've got to be the nasty bastard that says that's not going to work.
So if you were a fitness guru, and I came to you and said, I'm going to run a marathon, and you said, right, go and write the plan to run a marathon. What's likely to be in my plan? Is it training? Am I likely to sort of get my training right? Am I going to overestimate my ability?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and as a training guru, what are you going to do?
So instead of trying to run 10 miles a day, I run 100
Yeah, well, that's fantastic, brilliant. I'm glad. Well, why don't we just start with something that you can get going on? So these people have not written plans. The number of business owners I've done this with, and they write things like this down at the end of the quarter. How much of that have they actually done?
More of it than if they haven't made it done.
More, yeah. But have they done everything? No. 50% would be good. But from my perspective, what I've learned is I don't care. I do care. I want them to do as much as they can. But actually, the first one I don't mind, because the first one is a barometer of how much you can actually get done in 90 days. You'll always overestimate what you can get done in a week, in a month, and you'll underestimate what you can get done in a year. That's just human behavior. It's just how our brains work. We're very good in the short term, the here and now. We're rubbish at planning long term. Okay, so I'd accept it. So fine, that's great. Okay, so how are we going to be better next time? Okay, because all I'm interested is, are we performing? Do you know how well you've performed? Are you happy with that performance? Do you know how to get better? Otherwise, it's like, your child, sort of, when it's learning to walk, and it falls over 3 times, and you go, well, do you know what? You're going to be one of life's crawlers. You're never going to get this walking malarkey. No, try and fail, try and fail. If you fail, that's fine.
The child never gives up.
Because it wants to.
It wants to be grown up, doesn't it? It wants to stand up, wants to copy everybody else.
Its have is so big that it'll be and do whatever it takes.
And then we grow up, and then sometimes we forget that, don't we?
We lose sight of the have. We're not clear what our have is, or we learn to accept. Okay. We don't want to walk enough, because walking doesn't really appeal to us anymore. We've learned to sit on our asses and do nothing. We're all guilty of that. So, having a clear plan. Third one is the rules of the game. Okay, now this is the one I think most organisations fall down on the most. Okay, is we've got to, this is our game they're playing. Okay, we've got to make that really clear. If we set the business up, we're the managers, we're the directors, we set the rules. Okay, if you want to come and play my game, these are the rules you're going to play. Now, if you're in the early stages of a business, then I would say get the team to create the rules with you. Get them, if you're changing the rules or you're bringing rules for the first time, get the team to actually create the rules. Because it's a little bit like, imagine your kids, you're playing football. Okay? You've been kicking the ball around and you've been having a laugh and everyone's fine. And then you come in and say, right, guys, from today, we're gonna start playing football to these rules. What are the rest of the kids going to say? Go away. This is our game. Okay. If you've been playing to those rules and a new kid comes along to come and play your game, and you say, that's fine, you can come and play my game and here's the rules, what are they going to say? Fine, because I've got a choice. I can either play your game or not. If I'm already playing it, I have no choice. Okay, so if you're already playing the game and you want to bring the rules in, get them involved in creating the rules. Yeah. If you're starting from scratch or you've already got rules and you've got new people in, then you just sit down and say, if you want to come and play, these are the rules. And those rules are the culture statement. So the culture statement is based on your company values. Company values should be between 4 and 6 core values. Yeah. And then the culture is how we live those values in this situation. Okay, so you just talk about that as the culture of the organisation. The organisation chart, this is the rules of the game. The rules of the game are marketing is responsible for leads. That's your focus. It's nice and clear. There's no argument with this. You don't get the operation, oh no, I think I should be doing leads. Okay, make it really clear where they sit. From this, you then create the roles and responsibilities. So for this person, you do this role. The big problem you've got is where you bring in a person that's going to do multiple roles. Okay, so if you're doing 3 or 4 things, I might be doing a bit of marketing, a bit of sales, a bit of operations, a bit of finance. Okay, don't care. You create the roles, responsibilities for each one of these, and then you say to that person, you now have responsibility for those 3 roles. But you've got to make sure you allocate enough time in their week to do each one. Okay, because if you give somebody all of those and they don't have enough time to do it, they're gonna mess up on one of them, at least one. And if you go to, well, you haven't done the accounts, yeah, because I was doing marketing. Well, you haven't done marketing, well, I was doing the accounts. You can't manage that. Okay, you've got to break it down and make sure that you understand and they understand how much time you've got to do each role. That's one of the biggest challenges I see with growing businesses where you're all multitasking, is there's never enough time to do each job well. And then, have the systems. There's a system for everything. There's a system for lead generation. There's a system for sales. There's a system for operations. There's a system for finance. There's a system for HR. Those are your rules. Okay. The best way to achieve this is this. Okay. Now, if you don't have the systems and processes, get each person to write their systems and processes. Okay. Get them to write it, because that's what they're doing. Now you can then check it and make sure and improve it. But if they've written it, as 2 things. One, it makes you clear what they're actually doing. And the other one is if they then leave, they've actually written the job spec and how the next person is going to do that job. Okay, but that's also going to build into your efficiencies as you go forward. So once we've got leadership, we've got the common goal, we've got a plan, we've got the rules of the game, then get out of their way. Stop micromanaging them. Let them get on with it. Let them make mistakes. Okay, your job is to coach them. Okay, not wipe their bottoms. Okay, they're going to have to fall over. They're going to have to learn. Yeah, and by learning through their mistakes and you helping them overcome that, you're going to create better people. We're too quick often to come in, you can't do that, push aside, then we do it. I call it Superman syndrome. You put your pants on the outside of your tights, you put your cape on, you fly down, you fix your problem. And the problem with that is, what are you actually teaching the people?
Come to you each time.
If there's a problem, come to you, because you'll fix it. Yeah, and guess what? If you're fixing my problem, guess what I can do?
Create more problems.
I don't think they think. I don't think they think that.
One of my guys does sometimes.
I can go home early.
Yeah.
Easier day.
It's an easy day, because and if I do it, it's never good enough. So Keith will always come in and do it his way anyway. So what's the point? What's the point? Okay, so they'll keep chucking stuff. It'll only get fixed when you fix it, and then you're stuck. You're not teaching them. The kids want to go to school, you've got to tie their shoelaces. You'd be forever tying shoelaces. So get out of their way, let them make mistakes, let them rectify their mistakes.
Just had quite a good one with one of our team where he's learning a new role, really, an operational role, and trying to help him how to allocate resources by saying to him, look, this is what you cost me, this is what you cost the company per hour of your work. So if we're short of an item on site and it's in the warehouse, and we take it from the warehouse to site, and it takes you 2 hours to cost you that much, and it might be cheaper to put in a taxi and send a taxi. Also, the sense that you're doing a very low value job, and only used to be doing, we're doing a £10 a job hour, and then just do a £50 a job hour, whatever, to do that, so it's kind of get some understanding. Otherwise, they'll just go and do things all the time.
And that comes back to this: is everybody in organisations got to understand the profit and loss account, how we make money. Because if they don't understand how we make money, then they do stupid things, by spending too much money or spending too much time and costing money. So if we don't understand what game we're playing, then don't be surprised when people do stupid things. And it's a big one with organisations. Is we have this fear that if they see the P&L and they see how much money we're making, all they're going to do, they're going to do bad things. All public listed companies have to produce their P&Ls and report it to everybody. Do you think if you work for Amazon, you get upset at how much money Amazon makes?
That's what your parcel ends up crushed.
But why would you? Okay, just think about that. Why would you be upset how much Amazon makes?
If you didn't feel that your proportion of what you make met the value that you thought you attributed.
Exactly. So if you're demotivated, so if you're not performing, you're not being recognised and getting your worth, then you may feel that. But if you're being well looked after, well paid, your motivation level's high, you're not going to sit there and go, well, they made an extra 15 billion this year, I think I deserve my share. No. Now, you might have a profit-related pay thing that you actually benefit when they do make money. You'd feel even better on that basis.
There's a very good article. I saw a video by a guy called Jordan Peterson, who talks about the value of known capital. Kind of saying that if you're emptying bins or something and you get paid £10 an hour, versus someone who's getting paid £100 an hour for being a surgeon or something, there's a relative value to your intellect and your actual ability that is rewarded and measured financially. So if you want to increase your salary, just increase your worth, increase your value as a person, an individual to whether you're working on a business, and then you can earn more money. You shouldn't just expect more money if you're doing the same old thing or less. And I thought that was very helpful actually, and that means that when you're doing a pay, people say how to pay rise, you say, well, what extra value have you brought into the business?
And unfortunately, because we don't teach our teams this, is people forget that. And they go, well, I need some more money because I want a better car, I want a better house and things. And they feel that because I've worked here and I'm due this.
Longevity rather than value.
Yeah. So we've got to get them to understand, look, if you want to earn more money, you've got to be more valued. You've got to be shown how to create more value. But if they can't see how they can do that in your organisation, then yeah, at some point they're going to get upset about it. But if you've made it clear, look, if you want to earn more money, this is how it works. Yeah, you add more value to us, you take on more responsibility, you achieve something, then yeah. And that goes back to our performance development plans and appraisals. That's what the appraisals are there for, is to show them how they can be better themselves, yeah, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Because personal growth is, I want to grow personally, mentally, but that should also mean I grow financially as well. So it's a really key point. So our final point, 6 keys, yeah, 100% inclusion. So this is the relationship bit. Yeah, that there's a way to communicate. That if we're a big organisation, we need newsletters, we need team meetings, social events, reward systems. But with always a little phrase we use, what I feel like expressing. So it's an ability at meetings to actually allow people to express themselves. Okay, what I feel like expressing is, yeah, I want to understand the person. How do you feel? Okay, because the more you can get people expressing themselves and telling you how they feel, the less likely you're going to get to a situation where somebody hands in their notice and you just didn't see it coming. Nobody just leaves because they woke up that morning and think, geez, I'm going to leave. The leaving process, I think, takes somewhere between 3 months and 3 years. Okay, it takes time. There are signs. If you're honest with yourself and you look at somebody and they leave, and they go, well, I'm going to get paid more money over here. Yeah, ask yourself, when did you last do their appraisal? When did you ask them how much they want to be earning in a year's time? Guarantee you've never asked them. Yeah, but if they come to me, yeah, but they're not going to come to you, are they? Some people will, some people won't. Yeah, the annoying ones will keep coming to you and want more money because they don't understand how they can earn more money. The good ones won't come to you, they'll just leave for more money. Now, there'll be some times where you can't grow quick enough to pay them the amount of money they think they're worth and value. And that's just, you're going to have to accept that. Go back to your point that, you know, sometimes good people leave. They do. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you get 3 in a row.
We're completely, like we just said, completely out of our control.
No, your control is just.
There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
We get stuck doing that.
Yeah. But, you know, likewise, it's like sort of luck. You know, sometimes you'll get good people like Pete. You know, Pete stayed with you a long, long time. But there's your lucky ones. Sometimes you're going to be unlucky. So there's things that are in your control and there's things outside your control. Don't forget about the things that are outside your control. Get the things that you can control right. So that's really it. You know, I don't really have time. I mean, this is a book by a guy called Patrick Lencioni. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I put that in because if I get through it a bit quick, I can spend 3 hours on this one. But
we've got all of our team to read that book.
But when you really come to it, if we're not getting the results in our organisation, yeah, it's generally because there's a lack of accountability. We're not holding our team to account. If there's a lack of accountability, it's because there's a lack of commitment. Okay, people haven't, you know, they say they're going to do things, but they aren't really going to do it. They're saying it because it's just an easy way. There's no commitment. There's a lack of commitment is because there's a fear of conflict, that either we fear that conflict, and that's the biggest one for most business owners, is it's uncomfortable. Holding people to account, actually really holding to account on their performance is not a nice thing. It's a tough thing for us to do. Okay, but the fear of conflict comes because there's an underlying lack of trust. So if we work really hard in an organisation to build trust, conflict isn't a problem. That's why families can hold each other accountable, because there's an inherent feeling of trust. I'm doing this because I care about you. Yeah. If there's trust, we can do conflict. If we can do conflict, then people will commit. If they commit, there'll be accountability. If there's accountability, there's results. Okay, so you've always got to be thinking, inherently for me, it comes always this line here. It's a trust thing. Either they don't trust you or you don't trust them. And as soon as you've lost trust, you've lost your team. That's why the best teams, where you've got that bad apple, you've got to get rid of that bad apple, because that bad apple destroys trust, and causes you not only problems with them, but it will cause you problems with the whole team. Because if you don't hold that person account, how can you hold that person account? You've lost all credibility. And as we say, hire slow, fire fast. They're not working, give them a chance, give them the best thing, but ultimately, if it ain't working, then get them off the bus. Got to have the right people on the bus. So, your homework, identify your limiting beliefs. So really think about that team, write them down, and then look at ways to actually overcome those beliefs. Do you believe you can't find good people? Okay, then what if you can find good people? Okay, and to me, overcoming those is about education. Educated people have fewer limiting beliefs. Educated people.
What do you think?
Because they understand more. Because you just learn more. You just if you've got a limiting belief, read something about that. Find some people that have done it. Oh yeah, I understand how to do that. Okay, you may not know. Still difficult to do, but you actually learn more. You've got that open mind where you're willing to take on new ideas.
Can you say that rich people have fewer limiting beliefs?
Would I say rich people?
Yeah.
Depends.
They're
Depends how they
born
make it.
born into
They can have
wealth.
more
Depends how
than
they've obtained their
I
wealth.
think it's different. I still would say I've got more. I mean, because but I think let's say successful people, because successful people have generally found that they work on the beliefs that help them move forwards, rather than just rich. I think rich is, because I know some rich people that are just totally screwed up.
But is that in their limiting belief capacity rather than
Their beliefs are just because they've generally been lucky or they've got their money somehow. Rich is, there's people that have earned their success, and there's people that have had success thrust upon them.
It's funny that identifying limiting beliefs. One of the structures is most complained about in our lives is a private education system. And yet, a lot of the guys that were privately educated, they were told there was nothing you can't do.
Yeah.
And so they ran them because, well, why wouldn't they? I think what you're saying, I think I understood it, is make sure the team actually understand that they can do all these things for them.
One thing that was really nice about private schools, not I think they're private schools, but they would bring in really successful business people or in their profession, ideally that have come through that school system that they were part of, talking about what they've done and raising the bar standards. We never saw that in the state school. I took our kids sometimes to events or situations that they could see a standard being raised. If the standard is never raised, you don't know that it exists, do you? You don't know that it's possible to do these things.
And sometimes you get people that come from nothing, are far more driven and will achieve far more than a rich person, because they're limiting belief. Well, I don't have anything, so I've got nothing to lose. Whereas if you've got loads of money, your limiting belief is, well, if I do that, it goes wrong, I'm going to lose it all. So it can work. It can work both ways. So,
one of the things I discovered about myself quite late on in life was I'm dyslexic. Which when I was a kid, dyslexia didn't exist.
You're
So stupid. Yeah. If I'd been in the state system, I just sound arrogant, I wouldn't have achieved what I have achieved, as it as that may be. But because I was in a system that said, well, so what? It does make a difference. Big time.
So identify those limiting beliefs. Think about the DISC profile. So if you haven't done one, we can do DISC profiling. They're about 25 quid each. They're nice and cheap to get done. They're very, very powerful. And then think about those 6 keys. Which one of those 6 keys do you need to work on this quarter? You know, is it your leadership? You've got to get clarity around the goals. Is it a better plan? Is it strengthening the rules of the game? You know, is it about giving people more risk, or is it about communication? Don't try and do everything at once. It's too much there. So each one of those we look at and we try and improve. So, good. So thank you very much, guys. Just before we go, just want to make sure that what you said you wanted to get out of today that we've actually got. So Sabrina, can you unmute yourself and then just give us what was your top learning, and did you get out of what you wanted today?
Yes, thank you very much. Some of that was I had seen before, but in sort of sections, and you've put it all together, so the whole picture means more to me now. But the most important thing is, of course, that I don't keep this to myself. I've got somehow to get the others to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's key. You know, once you know this stuff, then great, but you know, you've got to get the whole team to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
They can all move forwards. So. Cool, good. I've got the chat up. So Lisa, are you still there? You there, Lisa? Oh, Lisa just said thank you. Okay, thank you, Lisa. And I think we seem to have lost Amanda.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
as well. They came in for
So good, David.
That's brilliant for me. I've had an interesting life, and I'm restarting again. It seems incredible. Never dreamt at the age that I'm at that I would really be motivated to go. I've learned so much today. It's incredible. And thank you to all you guys. I've learned a lot from you as well. But this has been really brilliant. I know where to come out. All I didn't know about. But there's extra things that are percolating through my mind now of getting things done and what to do and how to. Oh, by the way, you're in one of the best times in history for getting employees. There's so many of them, good ones as well. You know, it's worth considering.
Yeah,
I've
got,
really enjoyed that.
just had one had 130, another one's had 400 applicants.
Yeah, it's really good.
Puts another challenge in actually sifting through that lot. So, Helena?
Great as usual, Kevin. That chart and take a photograph, because I think I need to revisit that with the team, because it just ties up really well. To be honest, you just nudged things the ball, the images that you use, the tools. Yeah, it's been great.
Good.
I don't know if we go, because I've done this probably 2 or 3
Few times, yeah.
And actually, just for you guys, it's just worth keep going around the circle again and again and again, because you always learn something. It's satisfying. And they are very good. I'm such a representative on the previous. No, I'm happy.
You said the same, didn't you?
Yeah, no, so I think one of the things that has obviously happened throughout this since lockdown things, we have been having team meetings.
Yeah.
And we've actually been cancelling out the diary, but just saying in the text, we're talking we need to get this back in the diary again. Because we're on the same page, and you always forget what to talk about, because you end up going into the minutiae of solving everything. So we need to raise the bar back again. Where that is.
For those that don't know, we do a book club every month. So our last one tomorrow morning is Who Moved My Cheese, which David talked about. Next one's we're going to do one of Patrick Lencioni's, which is Death by Meeting. So it's a really good book about meeting structures, and it sort of brings that in. So that'll be a good one to put on the reading list. So, cool, Chris.
So I mentioned aligning goals. So yeah, that answered quite a bit for that. Just basically communicating and letting your team know goals. I previously haven't gone too much message for concern for them, then wanting more pay essentially. So but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I just think you've got to align,
Yeah, their
Say,
goals,
look,
your
guys,
goals,
how much do you want to earn? Great.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we need to do this.
Yeah.
So if they've got buy-in to that, then they'll help you do it. You know, don't you keep them in the dark. Then don't be surprised that you get sort of, you know, mushroom behaviour. It's probably not a great analogy, but so. David.
We have breakfast together every Monday, the whole team.
Yep.
And what I'm going to do is start taking some of the stuff. And it's a semi-social, semi-business.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, toolbox talks, you know, daily check-ins.
I'm going to start doing things like this, like aligning teams and getting the right motivation. But what I'm trying to decide is whether I say things, it won't be this one, obviously.
Yeah.
Might be one of us, it's going to be breakfast, but this is what we need to do. I think so. Yeah, I think it's utilising what we already do better.
Yeah. So if you've got that meeting structure in, you know, use one of these slides. You know, put something and say, right, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, personal growth is personal growth. It's not just learn something in business. Because often, you know, when you've got personal development plans and you're doing a sort of a 3 month and you've got to go on a training course to learn a new system or something, it's all business related. You will get people that don't actually need to learn anything more about their job. They're fine, they're doing good. But it doesn't mean you can't invest in their personal growth. So I would say have a bit of a budget for them and say, right, well, look, there's nothing business-wise for you to learn. So what do you want to learn personally? You know, do you need singing lessons? Do you need sort of gardening lessons? You know, but you've got to learn something. I'm not just going to give you a budget. It's got to be a structured learning. And there's one thing that you've got to report back to the team what you've learned and what impact it's had on it. Okay, because motivation is about personal growth. So as long as they're growing as a person, yeah, then that's fine. I'm okay with that. It's great if it's tied in with the business as well. That's where I want it to be. But if it's not business related, then it can be personal related. Fabulous. Good. Well, guys, thank you very much for attending. And in 2 weeks' time, we've got customer mastery. So again, this is part of the series, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. So thanks, Lisa.
Thanks ever so much. I hope you got my other message as well.
Oh, it's just come through.
You've got a bit of a delay in the chat.
Yes. So it's really them. Yeah. The problem with franchisees is, are they employees? Are they business owners? And a lot of franchises, because they've still got employee mindset, and we have to work on getting them to become business owner mindset.
I think we have a lot as well who believe they are entrepreneurs, and they are not entrepreneurs. They very much fall in the needing their backsides wiped categories, but have the mindset of, I know. So actually they're teenagers. Paul from Water Babies years ago, I remember him and I having a chat, and he described, well, at his conference, he told them they were all a bunch of effing teenagers and stormed out the room and told them to grow up. And we have a few who are like that. And I would say fall into the influencer category of wanting to sort of G up a few others, and it's trying to control those. And I think actually having employees is easier because you can get rid of them a damn sight easier.
But then you've got to work on their mindset to make them, help them to become adults, become business owners.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to be revisiting that.
But look, Lisa, I'll give you a call, and perhaps we can put something together to help them with that process. Yeah,
that's great.
So, okay, lovely. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Lovely. Thanks so much.
See you soon.
Bye.